Through Mr. Chair, it is 4 p.m. and we are now recording.
Thank you, Ms. Leach. It is April 3rd, 4 o'clock, and this is the Town of Pelham Committee of Adjustment. I am calling the meeting to order, and we have a quorum here present. Ms. Leach, would you begin by reading the land recognition statement?
Certainly. We begin this meeting by acknowledging the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee and the Anishinaabe peoples, many of whom continue to live and work here today. This territory is covered by the Upper Canada Treaty and is within the land protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement. Today, this gathering place is home to many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples, and acknowledging reminds us that our great standard of living is directly related to the resources and the friendship of Indigenous people. Through Mr. Chair, you may proceed with your introduction.
Thanks, Ms. Leach. So today we have 3 members of the Committee of Adjustment. To my side here, we have Mr. Colin McCann. On the other side of Ms. Leach, we have Dawn Rodbard and myself, Isaiah Bannock. We also have with us Ms. Leach to my side here, and electronically we have our planner, Lindsay Richardson, and the engineering manager, Derek Young, online as well. We have ourselves set up for video conference that way as well. I'm going to make some opening statements in a moment. We have 2 matters on the agenda today. We're going to first go through the Canberra Road matter, and then we'll proceed to the River Road matter. We have a presentation that we do, and then there's an opportunity to discuss the matter, and then the committee will deliberate and make a decision on the matters, and then we'll move on to the next item. So if you'll just be patient, a few items to go through before we get to the matters specifically. I'm going to read an opening statement, and then we'll continue to proceed from there. So this is a hybrid hearing of the Committee of Adjustment for the Town of Pelham. Everyone present and viewing at home via live stream will be given an opportunity to comment on the applications being heard. Agencies commenting on applications may request that certain conditions be imposed should an application be approved. Voicing objections to these conditions will not adversely affect the committee's decision. The purpose of the application relative correspondence will be heard, following which the applicant will be given the opportunity to address the application. During the public portion of each application, we will hear from anyone wishing to submit verbal comments or submit written comments via email to clerks@pelham.ca. That is clerks@pelham.ca. Comments received following the public portion will not be considered. At the conclusion of the discussion, the committee will render a decision and advise of any applicable conditions. Specific wording for conditions may be determined by the committee following the hearing. Copies of decisions will be mailed to the applicant or agent and members of the public that have requested comments. Notices of decision can also be obtained by request to the Secretary-Treasurer. Committee members are asked to raise your hand if you would like to speak and vote. Applicants, agents, and attendees are advised that they're free to leave the webinar hearing or the room here once a decision has made on their application. So that is the conclusion of the first 4 items on our agenda. If we could move to, 3 items. If we could move to the approval of this agenda, I'm looking for a motion to approve today's agenda.
I'll move we approve this agenda.
Thank you. Item 5. Does any member of this panel have a pecuniary interest in accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act in any of the applications to be considered at this hearing?
I have no such conflict.
Mr. Rodbard? And I have none. Ms. Leach, any requests for withdrawal or adjournment?
Through Mr. Chair, there has not been.
Thank you. We have an item on our agenda about the resolution under the Planning Act to appoint an Assistant Secretary Treasurer. Ms. Leach, I'll turn it over to you for a minute.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I am looking for a motion to appoint the Clerk's Legislative and Committee Coordinator, Mrs. Jody LeGros, as our Assistant Secretary Treasurer. Ms. LeGros is in the room with us today, so I would be looking for a motion in that regard.
Also move.
Thank you very much. And a seconder, please.
Sure.
Thank you. Okay, through you, Mr. Chair, that does bring us to our first application this afternoon, which is A8, and I will now share our presentation.
Thank you.
Committee of Adjustment hearing Monday, April 3rd at 4 p.m., which is a hybrid meeting. The Town of Pelham is holding all hybrid Committee of Adjustment hearings. A hybrid hearing involves a mixture of in-person and remote attendance or participation. The following presentations is based upon the Town of Pelham Planning Department report and analysis. Please note that no decisions have been made prior to this public hearing. All comments received from commenting agencies and the public have been forwarded in full to the Committee of Adjustment for their consideration and will appear summarized on the slides to follow. Participants are reminded, if you're participating virtually, please ensure that your background is free from offensive or vulgar material. If either is visible, you will be removed from the meeting. Please also be mindful of background noise. If you are not speaking, it is recommended that you mute yourself. Virtual participants will remain in the waiting room until they are called to speak. Once your comments have been heard by the committee, you'll be placed back into the waiting room. Inappropriate language will also not be tolerated. If inappropriate language is used, you will be removed from the meeting. The Zoom chat is not monitored nor recommended to contact the clerk's department. If you do have a comment, please email us at clerks@pelham.ca. This email address is being monitored during the public portion of the meeting. Decorum. The Committee of Adjustment is a formal public hearing requiring decorum. This means that all comments are to be made through the chair. If you have pre-registered to speak virtually or participating in person, you will be given the opportunity to address the committee at the public portion. If you are live streaming and wish to submit a comment live, please email clerks@pelham.ca. Please note that all comments must be received during the public portion of the meeting, otherwise they will not be considered. Inappropriate comments will not be tolerated. If decorum is lost, the meeting may be recessed and persons asked to leave. To allow for an efficient meeting, each member of the public will be given an opportunity to speak to the committee. After all members have been given the opportunity to speak, the applicant or agent may respond. And our first file this afternoon is A8-337 Canberra Road. The subject land is known locally as 337 Canberra Road. Application is made for relief to construct a detached accessory structure, being a two-car garage and storage building. The application seeks relief from Section 7.7A, maximum lot coverage accessory structure, to permit a maximum lot coverage of 1.16%, where the bylaw allows 1%, and Section 7.7B, minimum side yard and rear yard accessory structure, to permit a minimum interior side yard setback of 2.06 meters, whereas the bylaw requires 3. To date, the following comments have been received. From the Building Department, no comment. Public Works, no comment. Niagara Region, the application is consistent with and conforms to the provincial and regional policies. The region recommends an archaeological advisory clause is included as a condition of the building permit. Regional staff offer no objection to the minor variance from an environmental standpoint. Private sewage system staff offer no objection, provided no living space or plumbing fixtures are constructed within the garage. No public comments were received at the time of writing this report. Minor variance test 1, is the variance minor in nature? Yes, the increased coverage amounts to approximately 0.16% of the entirety of the lot. No negative impacts are anticipated on the adjacent properties as adequate distance separates the nearest residential neighbor from the location of the addition to the accessory structure. Adequate yard setbacks will be maintained. The accessory structure is set back from street view, and the scale and massing have been designed to retain its use and status as secondary or incremental to the primary dwelling. The remaining lot area remains available to handle stormwater runoff, the existing septic system, and preserve a rear yard amenity area. Is the variance desirable for the development or use of the land? Yes, the increase in lot coverage is desirable as it will permit design flexibility while maintaining adequate rear yard amenity area. The requested variances are not anticipated to have a negative impact on the streetscape given the placement of the accessory structure set back from the street. Does the variance maintain the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw? Yes, the requested increase in coverage is minor and allows for the logical and appropriate placement of the accessory structure. The increase in lot coverage for accessory structures is not anticipated to have any negative impact on space for landscaping, leisure, or drainage. The interior side yard setback is intended to maintain access to side yards, provide adequate separation between the dwellings, and provide adequate room for drainage. The setback provides for adequate rear yard access and space should an existing septic system require an expansion. Does the variance maintain the general intent and purpose of the official plan? Yes, the requested lot coverage and interior side yard setback should have no impact on the agricultural viability of the surrounding area and will not compromise the objectives of the official plan with respect to land use compatibility, stormwater runoff, or private sewage system servicing capabilities. Planning staff are of the opinion that the proposal makes efficient use of the land, will not result in the overbuilding of the property, will not alter the view, sightlines, or personal enjoyment of the subject property or any neighboring properties, and should not negatively impact the surrounding neighborhood with regard to land use incompatibility, traffic, privacy, and stormwater runoff. Planning staff also believe that this minimizes the impact on the floodplain. Planning staff recommend that application A8/2023P be approved subject to the following condition: that the applicant obtain all necessary building permits prior to construction commencing to the satisfaction of the chief building official. And should anyone require a copy of the notice of decision, please contact the Secretary Treasurer in writing as soon as possible. Sarah Leach, 20 Pelham Town Square, P.O. Box 400, Font Hill, Ontario. And my email is sleach@pelham.ca. This contact information is also available on the town's website.
Thank you, Ms. Leach. So the next part of our agenda here gives the opportunity to the applicant, if you'd like to speak to the matter as part of the public portion of the meeting. So you're welcome to do so or not do so. I'm seeing a nod of no. So in that case, I would ask if there's a mover to close the oh, sorry, I've missed one step here. If there's anybody who is pre-registered to speak via Zoom, Ms. Leach.
Through Mr. Chair, we do not have any pre-registered members of the public. However, I will just check our email address before continuing. Through you, Mr. Chair, it is 4:12 p.m. We've received no emails, and you may now close the public portion if you desire.
Thank you. Is there a motion to close the public portion?
I'll move we close the public portion.
Thank you. So the public portion is now closed. Any debate, any questions or comments from the members? All right, quiet bunch up here, but that's usually a good sign. Are we ready to render a decision? Do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion. With reference to file A8/2023P 337 Canberra Road, Pelham, application for minor variance, maximum lot coverage of 1.16%, minimum side yard setback of 2.06 meters. I move this application be granted for the following reasons. The variance is minor in nature, as it will have no negative impacts on anticipated adjacent properties. The adequate yard setbacks will be maintained. The intent of the zoning bylaw and the official plans are maintained. The proposal is desirable for the land as it will permit flexibility while maintaining adequate rear yard amenity space. And the application is granted without prejudice to any other application in the town of Pelham. We, the committee, have considered the written oral comments and agreed the minor variance report analysis and recommendation of this application meets the Planning Act tests for a minor variance, with one condition, that the applicant obtained the necessary building permits.
Is there a seconder for that? Okay, it is moved. Thank you. That concludes the Canberra Road matter. Your variances have been approved. And we can move to the next matter, which relates to the property north of River Road. In particular, this is file number B4/2023P. Ms. Leach?
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. As you mentioned, our next file is B4. Application for consent B4/2023P, Part Lot 12, Concession 14, property directly north of 606 River Road. The subject parcel has a frontage of 6.1, or let me get this started, has a frontage of 6.1 meters on the north side of River Road, lying west of Cream Street, being Part Lot 12, Concession 14 in the town of Pelham. Part 1 contains an existing natural gas well and pipeline running from the residence on Part 3, known as 606 River Road, across River Road to Part 2. Application is made for consent to convey an 822 meter squared easement in perpetuity over Part 1 to the benefit of Part 3, 606 River Road, for continued use of the existing gas well. Parts 1 and 2 are both to be retained for continued agricultural use. The easement is requested to maintain the use of the gas well and pipeline in the event the owner sells Part 1 and 2. To date, the following comments have been received. Building Department, no comments. Public Works, updated legal survey indicating location of registered easement. Please note that this easement should be registered. Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry, the ministry has indicated that they have no concerns with the application so long as the well operator has the rights, access rights to operate the gas well. And no public comments were received at the time of writing the report. Planning staff is of the opinion that the proposed easement is logical and represents good land use planning. Entering into an encroachment agreement for the easement over River Road is recommended as a condition of approval. The town has no record of an encroachment agreement for the existing line under the roadway. The encroachment agreement protects the owner and will give the owner and future owners of the property the legal right to have and access the private gas line on the public road property in perpetuity, and will also ensure that when the town does any work in the roadway, they are aware of the presence of the private gas line in the location. Planning staff recommend the application number B4/2023P be approved, subject to the following conditions. That the applicant enter into an encroachment agreement with the town for the gas line over River Road. That the Secretary Treasurer be provided with a registrable legal description for the subject parcel. That the Secretary Treasurer be provided a copy of the deposited reference plan, which shall include the identification of the part for the gas line under the public roadway. That the final certification fee of $423 payable to the Treasurer, Town of Pelham, be submitted to the Secretary Treasurer, and all costs associated with fulfilling conditions shall be borne by the applicant. If anyone wishes to receive a copy of the notice of decision, please contact myself in writing as soon as possible. Sarah Leach, Secretary Treasurer, 20 Pelham Town Square, P.O. Box 400, Fawn Hill, Ontario, or by email at sleach@pelham.ca. To you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Leach. Are there representatives that would like to comment on their application? No. Okay, we have no comments. Very good. Ms. Leach, do we have anyone pre-registered on Zoom who would like to speak?
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have no pre-registered members of the public. However, I will just check the email address before proceeding. And it is 4:18 p.m. and we have received no emails. Therefore, you may close the public portion of the meeting.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a mover to do so? We're seeing a nod from Mr. McCann over here. I can second. Thank you. So that closes the public portion. Any debate, any questions or comments?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I have one question for town engineering staff. It is, I see on the report that you've submitted that Ministry of Natural Resources has commented on the gas well. It's my understanding that TSSA regulates the gas line portion of it. And I wonder if it's appropriate for us to have any sort of comment or input from them on the gas line portion of it, especially where it goes under one of our roads.
Hi, Through you, Mr. Chair. That's why we've requested the plan and the easement be put in place so that we can then take that forward. It's more of a security blanket. The pipe has been there for a number of years, I understand. This is just to ensure that we now have an official record of it.
Okay, thank you. That satisfies.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments? Okay, no, nothing from me. Are there any motions on this matter?
Okay, I'll make the motion. With reference file B4, 2023P, part lot concession 14, property directly north of 606 River Road, Pelham. That we grant this, I move that we grant this application for consent of an easement over part 1 in favor of part 3 of the application, subject to the following conditions. To the satisfaction of the Director of Public Works, the applicant enter into an encroachment agreement for the gas line over River Road. To the satisfaction of the Secretary Treasurer, that the Secretary Treasurer be provided with a registrable legal description, a copy of the deposited reference plan, which shall include identification of the part of the gas line under the public roadway, that the final certificate fee of $423 be provided. This motion is based on the following reasons: that the applicant conforms to and complies with the town official plan, regional policy plan, and provincial policy statement, and the town's zoning bylaw. This motion is rendered in regards to having reviewed sections 51 brackets 24 and 51 brackets 25 of the Planning Act. And we, the committee, have considered all written and oral submissions and find that, subject to the conditions, this application meets the Planning Act criteria and is consistent and complies with provincial and regional town planning policy.
Second.
Okay, very good. That is passed through motion. So your consent has been granted. Congratulations. We are at the end of our agenda. Ms. Leach, could you remind me if we need a motion to close the agenda?
I would be looking for a motion to adjourn, yes.
Okay, thank you. Any motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
Second.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Chair, it is 4:22 p.m. and we have officially adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.